All right, everyone, welcome to, what is it, the fourth PowerShell Week presentation. And we've got Steve Hosking here today with us, going to tell us about using PowerShell and SCCM. So, Steve, I'll hand straight over to you and let you get started. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for that, Ben. So what we're going to be going over today is how to actually package some applications in SCCM. So what we can use is obviously the GUI for SCCM that most people have seen and use quite often. We go in here and we can go and package the applications. What we've also got from SCCM is since 2012 R2, we've had the ability, 2012, we've had the ability to be able to package applications using PowerShell. And to do this, the first thing we can do is we can go up here to the left-hand corner and we have the Connect to Windows PowerShell. So this here will automatically load us into the site code that we're needing to work in for SCCM and the situation that we need to be in. So we can go in here and go git command for config manager. Oh, that didn't work. Command and this will not return what we need.
Everybody loves a live demo.
Oh yeah, this is the part that I didn't practice. So basically what we're going to be doing here is returning all of the command lists that we have for PowerShell in SCCM. So obviously this is the basic PowerShell window, and you can't see much because my font's really small there. So what we'll do for the demo is we'll run through the ISE, which is over here. So by default, the config manager modules are not actually loaded into PowerShell. So what we need to do is we need to import these. So the command to import the modules is import module, and then we're going to actually use some special environmental variables called SMS admin UI path. But what we also need to do is we need to replace part of the string with what we're actually looking for. So what we're doing here is importing the module. And if I hit F8, we can see that it'll import the module, and we can get module config manager. So we'll see that the module's loaded using a manifest. So what the $env is it's actually the environmental. And you'll see here using the IntelliType or IntelliSense that we can select all the different objects. So in here, we're going to select the SMS admin UI. And you'll see here that it's bringing back this big long path called under program files of where the admin console is. So if we go set location, $env SMS, and then we get child items, we can see in here we actually have a whole heap of little applications, but not our PSD1 that we require to be able to load the module. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go to the location above, because we know that it's located here, and we can see that by doing git child item star.psd1, and we can see that the configuration manager module actually sits under there. So what we're in fact doing is we're replacing the i386 on this string in the SMS underscore admin underscore UI underscore path string with the configuration manager.psd1. So that makes it really easy for us to load it, and we don't actually need to know the path for your config manager console. Makes life so much easier. The next step that we're going to be doing is we need to connect to the CM site. So to do that, we actually need to get the site letter. So we can see in here under git ps drive that we actually have a CM site called P01, and it connects to this server here. So what we need to do is up the top is we go to set location, and we're going to put some brackets in there. And we're then going to get the PS drive, and we're looking for a PS provider of CM site. And then we're wanting the name, but we need to put a semicolon at the end of it, a colon at the end of it. So what we do is we put some quotes around it and escape out of it so we can actually put the colon there. So now when we hit F8, we can now see that we've connected to P01 as the drive. So under here, we can now connect in and see all of the PowerShell commandlets and actually execute them. So we can do git CM site. So all SCCM policies and commandlets have the CM letter as the in the actual string, which makes life so much easier. What we can also do is up on the right hand side under here, under commands, you'll see that config manager doesn't actually appear in the list. What we need to do here is hit refresh. When we refresh it, it will actually reload all of the modules and commands that are actually available and shrink the font. And we can see here configuration manager. Let me see if we can get that to zoom back in. So now we can see all of these commandlets that we can actually run with SCCM. So we can set pretty much everything, and you've got all of the inputs of how to configure it and so forth. So what we'll do is we'll slide that back over there. Now, the next step that we're needing to do is we need to create a new application. So I've already pre-staged all of my content, and it's located on my file server. So we'll leave that to the side for the moment. And we need to create the application, and as part of that, we're going to create a variable called $app. $app will actually contain the new object CM application that we're creating right now. So the reason why we're going to use that is at a later date inside the script, we're going to use $app, and it'll make our life a lot easier to reuse it. So here we're going to give it a name of SCCM client extension. So what the client extension is a tool from Microsoft that will extend the console in SCCM, so you can see blogs and you can see all of the updates that have been released for SCCM. And so what we'll do is we'll set all of the information. So we've got a description, PowerShell Live, and we now need to create a publisher, which is Microsoft, and we need to set a software version, not use documentation, of 1.0, and we set a localized name. So your localized application name is the name that appears in the application catalog, and I'll demonstrate that later on in the demonstration. So now if we hit F8 and we're going to run that line, so we're actually going off to my SCCM server to create the application. So if we go $app, we'll see all of the information for the application we've just created. And if we now go into SCCM itself and select off the application folder, and you can see that, but I'm sure it's very small because the font's not that fantastic. So now we've created the application. The next step is we need to create a deployment type. So for SCCM, in 2012, we have the application model, and inside that we have deployment types where we can specify whether we're going to have an x86 version of the application, an x64, a Windows Store application, an Apple app, a Google application. For this demo, we're only going to create a single deployment type, which is based on an MSI that we've already created. So we're going to create a new variable here called appdt, and we're going to add CM deployment type. And inside here, we're going to now target the application, which we created in the last one, where we're going to refer to $app. From here, we now need to define that it's going to be an MSI installer, and that the install location, installation file, there we go, is, let me just copy this off my notes, so it'll be quicker. Yeah. So now if we go, one of the things to note with SCCM is for your source directory, make sure you have a really consistent pathing system. So you have it as an application that we're packaging, then we put the vendor, then we put what the application actually is, and then inside that folder we have all of the actual installation files required for that application. So what we'll do is we'll now hit F8 on that, and we'll go off and create the application deployment type. So now if we go into that application and we go refresh, we'll see that we now have one deployment type, and we drill into that deployment type, and it'll eventually load up, and we'll be able to see that it's going to the content location that we're looking for with the installation and uninstallation and detection methods required for that MSI. So now we'll go back to PowerShell. We have our DT, we have our app. The next step that we actually need to do is distribute the content. So as part of the content distribution, or as part of the application deployment, we need to make it available on our distribution points so our computers can go and pick it up. So the commands for that is start CM content distribution. And we need to select the application that we're wanting to distribute, being $app, which is what we've created earlier. And then we need to define the distribution point that we're going to use. So for this scenario, I'm just using my primary server. But what we can also do is we can set it as a distribution point group. So in this scenario, we'll hit F8, and it will now distribute that content out to that distribution point. To distribute it to a group, it's actually just as easy. All we do is start CM, start CM content distribution. We select the application as well, and we go distribution point group name. And in my scenario, we have an all sites distribution group. So part of the advantage of using a distribution point group in SCCM 2012 is when you deploy an application to that distribution group, when you add additional distribution points to that group, it automatically replicates that content out to those new distribution points, which makes life 10 times easier for reprovisioning distribution points. So we've now created the application, we've created the deployment types, we've distributed the content. The next phase is we need to create application collections or user collections, because what we'll be doing is targeting this as a self-service application. So what we'll do now is we'll create a new collection called new col as a variable, and we're going to go new-cm user collection. So we have the option to use user collection and device collection. So we also have new-cm device collection. This is different for SCCM 2012 to 2007, as you can't have users and devices in the same collection, whereas in 2007 that was supported. And so we're going to create a CM user collection, and from here we are going to give it a name called install SCCM client extension, if I can spell it. And then what we also need to do with 2012 is have a limiting collection. So this is the collection where all the computer objects or user objects that you are going to add to this collection need to be a member of. So typically you'll have this as a base group of, say, all IT staff or all staff, and you don't use the all users collection, as it can cause issues when you have quite a number of collections for when the collections are updated. So what we're going to do is we're going to limit it to Steve's test collection, because everybody should have their own test collection, and we're going to run that, and hopefully it just works. No, I will just copy that from over here. because I obviously typed in something wrong. And we'll go F8, and away we go. So we now have a new collection, and if we go $new collection, we can see all of the information about that collection. But what you'll also find is there's no users or no devices in that collection. And the reason for that is we actually haven't defined a collection rule. So the next step is to create a collection membership rule. In this scenario, we're going to use include collection. And because we're going to keep it very simple, we're going to actually include the limiting collection. And there's no issue in doing this, as we know that that user object is going to exist in both collections. What that means is, from a testing point of view, I can sit there and I can create a collection of my user object to test this installation. So what we'll do here is we go add collection name, and actually collection, and we go new. So this is where we can use the variable called new col as the collection object, which is fantastic. It makes life really easy, and you can pass that information through. So we're going to go limited collection is Steve's test. It's because I spelled collection wrong yesterday when I was setting up my solution.
Blame autocorrect. It says collation instead. Blame autocorrect.
It does indeed.
I'm sure that's what it was. You're doing it on your iPhone.
That's right. Yes, on my iPhone. Yes, not my Windows phone. So now what we've done is we've created a new user collection membership rule that allows us to sit there and have a single user object in there. So we've created that. The next step we can actually do is we can create, well, we could, rather than using an include collection, we could actually do a direct membership rule. So as a direct membership rule, we need to define what the user is actually going to be. So we go get CM user, and I'm going to use my user object as it's the only one that exists in the environment. And we go F8. And if we now go $user, I can see all of the information about Steve. Steve has very little information associated with him, but he's not blocked, he's not decommissioned, and is not direct. And he's on the SH747 domain, and pretty much that's all the information we have on him, because we haven't turned on anything else. So to add a direct membership connection, what we do is we go CM user collection direct membership, and we go collection, which we can use the same collection object, col, and it's resource. So we have the option of using a resource ID, which is this part here, or we can just use the resource itself. So what we'll do is we'll just use the resource because it's easier in this scenario. So now if we select F8 on those two lines, it will actually add those to the membership rule. So if we now go to the collection and we go to the install SCCM collection extension and go to properties, if you have really good eyesight, you'll be able to see that we have two membership rules here called Steve's Test Collection and SH Steve, and one was include and one is a direct. So we'll close out of that and we'll go back to the console where it's easier for everybody to read it. So the next step is we need to actually deploy the application to the collection, because we've got the application created, we have the user collection created, so the next step is to actually deploy it. So now if we go start CM application deployment, and we now need to select our collection, but we need to use the collection name. So part of the issue is, well, we have a collection object, but how do we know what the collection name is? This is where we can use brackets and go $col new col dot name bracket. So what we're saying is we want to pick up the name component of the new call object. And then from there, we want to give it a new name, right? So we need to give it the name of the actual application that we want to distribute out. So again, we're going to use brackets and we're going to go $app.localized display name. We go again and we hit F8. So we have now made this available to the user. So when we go in here, and we go down the bottom to deployments, we can now see, actually, give me a second. Let me just get the Zoom it running. That's not there. Gotta love live demos. Right, so we'll come back to that. So what we should see here eventually in the app store or the application catalog is the SCCM servicing extension. What they'll allow us to do is then install the software from the self-servicing portal of SCCM. So that's great, but that means we've got to tell the users to actually go and do something. And we all know how they are capable of doing that and following instructions and going here and going, I need to find Office, for example. And they go, oh, I didn't spell Office right, it didn't appear. And it just doesn't work. So what we'll do is all right, so we've got the application deployed. So the next step that we're going to actually do in PowerShell is a cool one, right? This one here is allowing us to actually grab the string to point the users to connect to an explicit download string. So this one here, I'm actually going to paste it in there because it is very long, and it's based off a link, off a website from Nick Mori. I'll apologize if I got the name wrong because I cannot pronounce things. And what we're actually doing here is we're creating a library of hash table where we're saying /=2F00. And what this actually is setting up so we can convert from ASCII to base64, which is how the string appears in SCCM. So we go through and we've created our dictionary up here and here. So we've got lowercase and uppercase. We then go through a function here which is encoding it. So what it's actually doing is we're passing in, and I will get this $app.ci unique. So what we're actually doing is we're passing this string in and we're converting that string into a very long web address. So parts of this use WMI calls, which is this line here. So if we go F8, we can see that my website for the App Store is actually http://servername:80/App Store. What, for some reason, to run that command, you actually need to have administrative access on the computer. And GWMI is the same as getWMI object to make it nice and neat and understandable for everybody. What we've now grabbed is we've got the store location. We've grabbed the CI unique ID, and then from there, what we're doing is we're converting. We're taking out this last bit here because that is of no use to us. That's /2. So the easiest way to do that is just to split it and grab the first and second objects out of that split. And we're then encoding that using this function here called encode, where it steps through every single character inside the string and goes, is an uppercase? Yes, well then you need to do this. Otherwise you need to go to the lowercase dictionary. And it literally will go through here, and if it's an S, capital S, it will return 5300 as the string. And that will build out to a very long string, which we can then turn around and add into a long HTML string. So what we'll do is we'll grab that code and we'll hit F8. what we should see happen is in the clipboard, we have a very long string. As you can see, if I hit enter, it's going to throw an error in PowerShell, but we can actually see the long string itself. Now, if we go into the application catalog and we hit Control V, it should, if it works properly, pop up straight to the application. And it's not, I don't know. Let me just rerun that. F8. And we go Control V. What should happen is it should pop up on this page here, which will then allow the user to have the install. So there's a bug in Silverlight in the SCCM App Store that you'll see if you use Microsoft Surface devices or anything that has a very high resolution, where it automatically is zoomed in very far and you can't see the install button down the right hand side. It's something that will be fixed, hopefully. But to fix that, you need to actually scroll out and then you can go install. So you'll see here in the application catalog, we actually have just a very generic icon. So what we can actually do is we can go off and create our own icon and place that there. And from there, to do that, what we do is we use the .NET class called system dot drawing dot icon, and then what we're going to do is we're going to instantiate it and we're going to extract the associated icon from. What we're going to do is we're going to use the executable for configuration manager because it's something that we know is on the computer. So from here, I'm just going to copy my command from here and paste it in. And we're then going to save it to bitmap. Bitmap.save. And again, I'm going to just cheat here and use my nice long saved string because it is string. And we'll paste it over here. So what you'll see is this big long string. When we hit F8, it will go off and create that icon for us. So if we go here, we can see that it's created a sccm.ico and that it's the icon file for SCCM itself. So from there, we can go and associate that icon to the application for the App Store. So to do that, we literally just go set CM application, and we can go input option object of $app. So $app is the object that we created earlier. From there, we want to now point it to an icon file, which is this /sccm.ico. Now, if we go F8 on that, and we go back to the SCCM application catalog, and we hit F5, we'll eventually see that icon file change. Just close out and open it back up. So now you'll see that the icon file is now the SCCM icon, which is pretty cool. It makes life a lot easier. So that's how we create the application. We can get it to the point where we've now got the installation string on the website, and we can now hand that off to a customer and they can click on the link. They get presented this nice GUI where the user can go in there and go, oh, cool, all I need to do is hit install and it'll go off and install the application. So what you'll see here is I've already installed the app, and you'll see down here, if we go to the administration, there is no servicing extension here. And if we now close out of that and open back up the config manager console, and we go to advanced administration, we now have the site servicing tab, which will now include all of the features around all of the releases for SCCM 2012 R2 SP1. So as you can see, the other day, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we had cumulative update 1 released for Config Manager 2012 R2 SP1. So that will be going out on my environment shortly. All right, so now we've done all of that part of the demo. What we'll actually step into is using the SMS provider and making those calls from PowerShell and WMI. So what we'll do is we'll just use the get WMI object, and we can go connect to the computer, which if you're on your desktop computer, you need to put in the server name because the SMS provider is only on your primary server or any other server that you've defined it on. So in this scenario, it's on 747 CMS 02B01, and we need to define a namespace. So a namespace is where we can actually find all of the information for the classes in SCCM. So we go to root SMS site underscore P01. So this, so the P01 is my site code of the actual SCCM server itself. So this here will change depending upon your environment, and it will match what you use. So what you have down here is what you would use up here. Then the next step is we're just going to do a list of all the classes, right? And we'll have a very large amount of information pop down the bottom. So these are all of the classes that are available to SCCM for us to report upon. So we'll wait for that to finish. Actually, we'll break it. What we can actually do, so just out of interest, let's put a .count on there. And we'll take the star out because that's not used. And we can see that we have 1,051 different class objects. So you'll see things from all of the collection results, so we can return back all of the information about our SCCM collections, as well as bringing back, say, BIOS. So as an example, let's go and do a query on query select star from SMS underscore system, or G underscore system underscore BIOS. And hopefully I got the class correct, and I did not. Gotta love demos. So there's all the BIOS information for my devices. So what you'll see here is I only have one computer, and I have a resource ID of this. But my serial number is this. So if this was my desktop computer, like a physical PC, say from HP or Dell or Lenovo, you'd actually see a populated serial number of the computer. So that allows you to go and then pull that information out and pass that on for support and things like that, or use it to name your computer. So that's cool, but I don't actually have a computer name on that field. So what we can do is we can go here and we can go, all right, well, we're going to grab this resource ID. So we could do that by copying it there, or we can just go bracket $res ID equals dot resource ID. So if we hit F8 and go $res ID, we can now see that the resource ID is 167777219. What we can then do from here is we can go, all right, well, we're going to get WMI object from computer 747 CMS 02B01 with a namespace of root SMS site underscore P01 client, and we're going to query select star from SMS underscore R underscore system. I think let's just hit F8, and we can see all of the computer objects for that. What we can then do from there is we can go where SMS underscore R underscore system dot resource ID equals quote dollar res ID. And then we hit F8. And what we'll now see should be a single computer, and that's all of the information for that computer. What we can then do is put that inside brackets and go name. Cool. My computer name is 747HVS01. And now if I go host name, that's the computer that I'm working on. Granted, it is the only computer that I have in my SCCM environment, but this is where you can start doing and leveraging off all of that information, which makes life a lot easier. So from here, we can go off and we can get any information about the computer. So say, for example, we want to get, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy this and we will go and get, let me think of a class. I can't think of anything easy to bring back. We'll bring back the firewall. Theoretically, it should have information in here. And we can just go F8. And it doesn't have a resource ID, so that's why that failed. That's what happens when you try and do something on the fly. Did you have any questions, Ben?
Yeah, just one of the things. So I'm not. I haven't used SCCM, and I was just wondering for people that either haven't used it or maybe just getting started and looking at how they can use PowerShell. Yep. Is there an easy way or a good resource where they can explore, the WMI namespaces and find out, what some of those hard-coded strings are to get easy access? Because a lot of these seem to require some fairly explicit locations to get the right information back. Is there any kind of easy way you can recommend people get started exploring that?
So what I'd recommend is there's quite a few websites you can go to around SCCM. SCCM in the System Center suite is probably one of the biggest communities out there. So the really good place to start is Bing or Google and just go, I want to find out this information about this object. And basically that is the easiest way to learn for SCCM, is to go and dig around and go, oh, I need to find out how I can get the SCCM operating system versions WMI. And it'll tell you, okay, it's in the Win32. So we can pull that out from Win32 and bring that information in. But we also have the SMS OS class. So this is where SCCM is just one of those tools. It's really about going in and playing around. From a PowerShell point of view, what you can also do to find all your different namespaces in WMI is you can go to WMI, get WMI, and then go to where is it? Class, quotation marks, underscore, underscore, name, space, quotation, and it will return a list of all of your namespaces that are available at that level. So and what we can do is we can put that in brackets and do name, so it's nice and easy to read. So what I can see is at the root slash CIM v2 namespace, I can see that I can go and drop into all of these different locations. So we have, for example, SMS. So what we can do here is, all right, well, we know our SCCM server is on, it's computer name, on 747 CMS 02V01. And I can see that now I only have 3 options, but I don't actually see SMS. That's because it's at the namespace that's higher. So if we go namespace root and we go F8, oh, not F8, enter, we'll actually see all of the namespaces that are available. So in here, you'll see that we now have SMS, we have the WMI, we have CCM, which is SCCM as well. We have more information about WMI, we have the servicing model. If it's a HP device, you can see inside the WMI namespace and see all of the information about the HP BIOS, or you can see all of the information about the Dell BIOS. So from one of the things with WMI is don't be afraid of it. It's like the registry, and like a lot of other things, just go and experiment, play around, because you'll find things that you'll just sit there and go, wow, that's just amazing. So for example, we can see here, there's a WMI class for IIS. So from there, we can go, all right, well, what's actually in WMI class IIS? From here, we can just delete that. And we're going to go Control V and go list. And these are all of the actual objects that are inside that WMI namespace for IIS. So we can then bring all of the information back about what's inside that IIS server. Pretty cool. Very powerful product. And yeah, WMI is something that it's hard to explain and hard to train on, but it's something that you'll pick up using SCCM extensively. Does that answer your question a bit?
Yeah, it's great. Thanks, thanks, Steve.
Cool. Is anybody out there that has any questions that they'd like to put to the Q&A?
We've got a few viewers on, but no questions at the moment. But guys, if you're listening, if you've got any questions, you should be able to just open up the Q&A app on the side of your screen, and I'll plug things in for Steve.
Cool. Right. So, did you have anything else that you'd like me to go over from the configuration manager space?
No, I mean, I think that was a good introduction. Definitely, good start to showing how we can package and deploy, in a nice standardized fashion. Does anyone have any useful modules out there that help shortcut some of the standard tasks related to SCCM and application deployment? Is there any good resources out there for some of the common tasks?
Yep. So I have my own blog. Shameless plug, I know. I have
Excellent.
to put it out there, which is, it's really hard to remember. It's stephen.hosking.com.au. And on there, one of my latest blogs is actually about packaging the remote desktop manager solution from Devolutions. But one of the cool things about that is we've gone in and we've stepped through and connected to their HTTP connection, and we're going up and we're scraping that HTML page and grabbing the executable, grabbing the version number, turning it into an object, and then publishing it into our SCCM environment. So rather than going forward and having the prompt to go, okay, there's a new version of RDM, we can set this as a scheduled task in Orchestrator, SMA, or Task Scheduler that'll automatically run every day and check to see if there's a new version of the Remote Desktop Manager application. And then we can publish that back down. There's some really powerful stuff that we can do with SCCM and PowerShell all hooked together. On top of my blog, obviously there's a vast amount of information out in the internet. So for example, cmsdk.com is a fantastic page from Cadio that I'm forbidden to go to. I don't know what happened there. So I'll just do a search. So KDO's MVP, Kaido, I should say, sorry, is an MVP out of Estonia, and he works for Cortec. If I can remember the actual CM12 SDK, that's what we're looking for. So Kaido's gone through and actually detailed a lot of the PowerShell commands, and we can break into it and go through the script library and see all of the information in there. It's pretty amazing, some of the stuff that he has actually documented, how to query the SMS provider, how to get the embedded properties, software updates. We've got packages. It's just fantastic resource for using SCCM and PowerShell together. So you can set your boundary groups. So for example, if you're re-IPing your whole environment, you can just go in here and grab this PowerShell script on how to set your IP addresses, and you can then have that read in from an Excel spreadsheet and pass that through to create all your sites. So what you'll see here is there'll be multiple different examples of being able to do the same task in different ways, which I think is pretty cool.
Excellent. And Steve, you also run the infrastructure user group in Sydney, right? So I'm sure people can come along. And you guys are on meetup.com, right?
That's correct. So we meet on the second Wednesday of every second month. So our next meetup is on the 9th of September, and we'll be discussing Windows 10 and SCCM 2012 R2 SP1 deployment. And that website for that is sigau.org. Alternatively, you can access that via the meetup page. So I'll just put that in here. So that's our other page, and we'll put C12, which is Kaido's page. So these are big ones for us. Obviously, there's millions and millions and millions of pages for Config Manager around how you use SCCM and using PowerShell and not using PowerShell. So Config Manager's been around 20 years. It has one of the most active communities in the world that I've seen for any of the System Center suites. Facebook groups, there's at least 5 of them where you'll see me floating around answering questions, and you'll see a good percentage of the MVPs sitting in there as well, helping out and guiding people along the way of the adventure of SCCM.
Oh, great. No, they all look like good resources. So fantastic. All right. Well, we don't seem to have any more questions. So, yeah, thanks for your time, Steve. That was a great introduction. Yeah, like I said, personally, SCCM is not something I use very often. So it's good to see some more details about what people are doing out there and what's possible with PowerShell. So thanks again, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks for organising all of this, Ben. It's been a great week, and I hope that tomorrow's night with Jeff is going to be fantastic as well.
Yeah, so Jeff will be our last speaker for PowerShell Week officially, and yeah, it would be great to see some more about DSC. It's another hot topic that everyone's interested in. So
very much so.
All right, mate. Well, take care, and thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.